Sophia's POV, your keys miss, rent is due in a month and remember to make it cash. The grumbly caretaker tosses the metal towards me carelessly as I fumble to catch them, swallowing to wet my drying throat. Thank you, I manage to say, with my voice barely audible, but he nods nonetheless as though he had heard me before making his exit. He was a stout man, who didn't pride himself much on his appearance by the looks of things, but who was I to judge anyone in this state? I had managed to land this little apartment for only $350 per month, and although that doesn't sound much to the average person, it really was a lot for somebody who was new to town without a job. Not to mention my new school that would be taking up most of my time during the week. I would need a nighttime job no doubt, something convenient to help me make some money, and fast. I sigh, hearing the front door creak before finally closing over, giving me a proper moment to view the apartment for what it was. It had nothing in it, no furniture, and the place looked as though it had seen over 1,000 crack parties in its time. I was already wary of my neighbors too, who I had passed by on my way inside here. Two men who both stood out in front of the building seeming to smoke something that evidently wasn't normal nicotine or tobacco. I peered out of the broken blinds, seeing one of them wobble slightly in his high state, before rebalancing himself and going in for another puff, this time from a small pipe that I could see. Unfortunately, it seemed that one of the men was the top floor resident and the other was the bottom floor, sandwiching me in between them like some cruel prank in our block of 3. I had no choice though. This was the cheapest place I could find and I chose this life for myself. This was my burden to carry and I had to make the most of it at this point because I knew I would never go back home. I walked towards the tiny kitchen, finding nothing in the cupboards other than some soup tins, and so I quickly go back over to my bags which were left in the center of the floor. I unzipped the one which contained my last small puddle of cash in order to scrutinize just how much I had fucked up thus far. I had used most of what I took now, and this was my last chance to settle somewhere without them finding me again, and so this has to work. I pull out my small pink zip purse, opening it to reveal some notes and coins as I slump down on the hardwood floor and tip the contents out. Taking a second to start counting it, I chew my lip in anticipation for how bad my situation really was this time around. 50, 70, 90. Pointing to each coin for it to count towards my total, I slump my shoulders slightly and breathe out. $137. Not enough for next month's rent, but it's something to get me by until I find a job, right? I check the clock, seeing that it was 3 in the afternoon, as I push all of my money back inside of the purse, putting it into my bag once again. I guess it's time to explore my new town, Durango, Colorado. I was getting further west, but I didn't mind. Before now, I had just stuck to city hopping, having lived in 2 already before coming to this place. But they would always manage to hunt me down, like I was a wild animal, and this time around I knew that I had to try a different tactic. A smaller town would be harder to find and hopefully they would just bypass the place assuming that I would have gone to Vegas or somewhere more extravagant. I will say though, I did get more for my money in the cities with there being better housing options, but I couldn't grumble, at least I have a roof over my head and a door that locks. With that, I toss my backpack over my shoulder and head back out, taking the keys and locking the door behind me on my exit. I quickly rush down the stairs, out into the bright sun, silencing my 2 neighbors who eye me curiously sly with creepy grins. Thankfully, they say nothing as I pass through the middle of them both. But after a few more steps they both snigger and mutter between themselves, their words inaudible, and I wasn't sure if I would have wanted to hear what they were saying either. I follow a sign towards the town center, learning quickly that my street seemed to be filled with addicts and drunken people as I passed by, but I didn't mind as long as they were peaceful and left me out of it, that is. The town itself was gorgeous, far different to the city life, and I got the vibe that this was no doubt a place where everyone knew each other. I was shocked to find that a couple of blocks away from my own apartment, the streets were lined with ridiculously large extravagant properties and fancy cars, highlighting the wealth that also resided in this small place. I quickened my step, slightly embarrassed to be walking by the residents who sat out on their front porches to enjoy the sun with my messy, unclean hair and overall scruffy appearance. I would have to grab some necessities to shower with, or I would face backlash on my first day of school, which I didn't want nor need on top of everything else that I had going on. Plus, nobody would hire me looking like this either. I eventually reached the main town, passing a number of boutique restaurants and coffee shops, before finding a discount store that I quickly swerved into in shame. The lady on the till seemed surprised when I walked in, but quickly forced a smile to which I returned awkwardly and hurried towards the aisles. Do I look that bad now? I had never let myself get this unkempt, but this was nothing more than a result of traveling for 8 days straight to get here. Deciding to put my pride first, I granted myself permission to spend what I had to spend in order to freshen up completely for my first day of school tomorrow. Glancing across the hair and body products, thankful to find that the why were pretty cheap, I grabbed a small basket and began to add shampoo, conditioner, body wash, a sponge, toothpaste, a toothbrush, deodorant and a razor to shave with. Calculating the total in my head, I was relieved to have only spent $7, returning back to the checkout lady with my products. She looked somewhat guilty, as she scanned each one, glancing over what I had came in here for. Listen dear, it's on the house, don't worry about paying today. We all fall into a low place sometimes, but you'll pick yourself back up again. I'll cover your total. The woman's words shock me, as my lips part and my eyes widen. And no, I can pay. I push, quickly retrieving my purse in embarrassment as she shakes her head and waves me off. Put your money to something else, there's a great little thrift store across the road, you could have a look in there? I'll get this. She pushes, bagging up my products as I gulp and nod slowly. This was embarrassing, but I couldn't help but feel grateful. Thank you. I'm new around here. I just need some time to get on my feet. I nod quickly, realizing that she probably thought I was an addict of some sort looking this way. I understand, have a nice day dear. She smiles and ignores my rambles, handing me the bag with a soft smile as I thank her once more and hurry out of the store. Geez. I inhale a slow breath, before spotting the thrift store across the road that the lady had spoken of. Maybe I could go in and use the money I would have spent for a first day school outfit? I sigh, noticing some girls around my age staring over at me from down the street in confusion. I quickly cross the road, rushing towards the store to get away from their judgmental eyes, hurrying myself inside. The place was huge, organized into colors and sizes as I head towards the pinks first to browse. I loved clothes, and at first when I left home I had took most of what I had with me. But each time EY found me, I had to flee as quickly as possible, which meant that sadly stuff got left behind on the way. I think I have 3 outfits and some underwear left, that I could hand wash in the sink when I get back home to freshen up a bit. I pull out a pink crop top with buttons at the top, and seeing that the shirt was only $2 I decide to take it. I also find a baby blue tee, plain with only a white heart on the left-hand side. Due to having a small mark on the sleeve it was only $1, to which I also decide to get it. It was an odd feeling, shopping for clothes again when it was something I used to enjoy so much, but I enjoyed it in here nonetheless. Like every other store though, some of the prices were really great and other prices seemed ridiculous, especially for second-hand clothes. I moved towards the jeans, rummaging through the racks for my size before finding a nice black pair for only $5 in a mom-style fit. Okay, I can't spend anything else, this was a treat. I decide, as I head towards the checkout desk and count out what I need. The younger guy watches me, choosing to stay silent since he probably deals with people who look like me every day in here, before I hand him over $8 total, to which he thanks me and bags the stuff for me. Leaving, I stop into the small excursion shop next door, finding the different activities and trips you could book in or close to town before my eyes land on a little brochure with a map of town on the back. Perfect. That would help me find my way around a little better. I place the pamphlet in my bag, and trudge my way back towards my new empty apartment to freshen up as much as humanly possible for my big day tomorrow. But I could confirm so far that this place wasn't all bad. Sophia's POV standing from the floor, I moved to crack my aching back with a sore stretch. Sleeping on the floor was not the best form of sleep, but it would just have to do right now. I got myself ready for school, deciding to wear the blue tee and new jeans I had purchased from the thrift store yesterday, providing a sense of freshness from the clothes I usually rotated between these days. My hair and body was now spotless after an hour of relentless scrubbing in the cold shower which needed to be done, and I was thankful that my hair dried naturally straight, which meant that I didn't have to style or attempt to fix it too much either. With a heavy spray of deodorant and a scrub of my teeth, I pull my bag over my shoulder and head for the door, thankful that my 2 neighbors hadn't yet emerged in the early hours of the day. I followed the small map on the pamphlet, realizing that the school wasn't too far from the town center, which made things easier for me. It was roughly a 15-minute walk into town and then no doubt a few more minutes walk from there. I liked walking, but recently find myself taking dizzy turns, probably due to my lack of a healthy diet. At first it was a struggle, trying to watch what I was spending by cutting back on my food, but at this rate it was a terrible habit that I often forgot about. I was the skinniest I had ever been, which made me feel slightly queasy whenever I thought into it too much. My old clothes didn't fit the same, and I was angry with myself for letting go of my appearance so much over the months that I had ran away. I was always slim, but had curves which I didn't mind, but by now, any sort of ass that I once had was non-existent. If my forged paperwork had been accepted by the school, then I should hopefully get a free lunch every day, which will keep me going though. I had gotten good at this forgery stuff, although it did worry me with what could or would happen if I ever got caught. I had my oldest brother's ID, but only ever used it for important stuff such as applying to switch schools. I claimed he was my guardian, and worked away in the army, which was why I was left to live alone. Technically I was 17, almost 18, which meant that I wouldn't need a guardian at all soon enough, but I had to be cautious with what I used the ID for. Sure, I could attempt to take out a credit card in his name, but that would leave a footprint of where I was since I would have to do it online. I have learned to be clever, because after the first 2 locations I had run off to, I realized how quickly they could find me with the smallest slip-up. Having now passed the town, I noticed a young guy with a backpack on and decided to follow behind him, assuming that we were both going to the same place, being school. Rightly so, within 5 minutes, we rounded a corner and a large building stood before me. This was the worst part about moving, having to start a new school. The first day could go one of 2 ways: either everybody would notice I was new and could make my life a living hell, or I would go undetected, which was my most favorable option. Luckily I seemed to be early, as not many kids were here yet. As I headed inside and glanced around. Lost? I turned to find a man with glasses, cocking an eyebrow down at me as I nod, assuming he was one of the teachers. I'm looking for the office, I explain, as he nods and motions for me to follow him as he begins to walk in a quickened stride. I push my feet quickly to keep up, turning a left and then a right before the large glass windows of the school office soon come into view. Thank you, I beam, knowing that I would have never found this place on my own. You are welcome, good luck. He nods once more before taking off again, leaving me standing by the door alone. I knock gently, seeing the small elderly receptionist peer up at me from her computer screen before motioning for me to come in. I enter, approaching her as she stands and moves to grab an envelope of sorts before pushing the glasses back up her nose. You must be Sophia Isabella, yes? The newbie? She Steins, handing me an envelope which read, Student Welcome Pack. That's me, I reply in confirmation, as she takes a seat once again and begins to type something up on the system. Okay, so the headmaster is out all day today, so he will meet you another time, but you have been assigned one of our students to help show you around. He should be here in 10 minutes. You also get a free lunch, is that correct? You will find your student lunch card in the welcome pack, and it should already have credit on it for you to buy your lunch. You bring the card back to us every 3 months for us to update the credits. Your timetable will also be in your welcome pack, but you will have first 2 classes off to go on a tour of the school. The receptionist recites her checklist with ease, showing me that she had done this role many times before and that I was just another typical new student to her, nothing special. That all makes sense, thanks, I respond, fumbling with the large brown envelope in my hands as she offers me a tight smile and motions towards the waiting seats. Take a seat, read through your pack, and the student should arrive for you soon. She pushes, as I take a glance at her name badge which read Brenda. I nod, pushing back a smile at her hurried demeanor, before turning to sink into one of the comfy chairs. The only sound was of the keyboard clicking, as I tore open the envelope and revealed its contents. Inside was a map of the school which I placed aside, a key to my own locker which was number 804, my lunch card with my name on it, a welcome breakfast snack bar which I was more thankful for than she even knew, a booklet listing what the school offers for extra credit with what clubs were available to join, followed by my timetable. I decide to eat the breakfast bar before the student arrives to show me around, finding that it would be rude to do so when he gets here. I rip open the wrapper, take a bite, causing my stomach to growl out, almost in excitement at gaining fuel. Glancing down at the timetable, I had English in the morning which I would be missing for the tour, physical ed after that which I absolutely hated only because I didn't bring a change of clothes because I don't own any, and then art at the end of the day which I did enjoy. Back home at my normal school I was one of the best runners and cheer flyers in my year group, if I don't mind bragging. But since leaving, my taste for physical activity quickly deteriorated due to many reasons. The first being that I didn't have much energy with the cutback in food I had to endure, along with the fact that I didn't own any gym clothes at my new school, so often got embarrassed about taking part in my normal clothes after a girl called me out for it once. Sophia? I glance up out of my thoughts to find a young guy standing awkwardly beside me that I hadn't even noticed come in. Chewing the last bite of the breakfast bar quickly, swallowing it back, I clear my throat and offer him a smile. Yes, nice to meet you, and you are? I try to be polite, pushing the contents of the welcome pack back into the envelope, placing my locker keys, lunch card, and folded up timetable into my jean pocket for convenience. Joel. I'm doing extra credit, so they said to show you around. He explains, as I nod and stand, taking my bag and other things with me. Yeah, thanks for that. I quickly say, knowing this would probably make my time here much easier, especially today. Hearing the school bell suddenly ring out, giving me a fright, he chuckles slightly at my reaction, to which I grow slightly embarrassed by. We can give it a minute for the corridors to quieten down before heading out. What locker number are you? We can go there first, he suggests, as I nod and fish out the key from my pocket quickly. Oh no, 804. You might have some trouble there. He trails off, as I furrow my eyebrows in confusion as to what he meant. He turns to glance out into the hallways, before turning back to me. Let's go, should be quiet now. He motions with his hand as we exit the office, and he leads me back the way I came towards the front doors of the school. Here goes nothing, Sophia's POV. We walk on, as Joel shows me the large lunch hall on passing along with showing me where each of the female toilets were, which was also useful to know. So why did you say that I might have some trouble with my locker? I ponder, as he seems to grow somewhat anxious with the mention. Oh that, well the 800s are typically off limits unless Vincent says otherwise. Can only imagine what he keeps in half of them too. Joel explains, seeming to lower his voice as we wander through the empty hallways. Who is Vincent? A teacher here? I question, assuming that the guy clearly had a lot of authority around here. But what would he possibly be keeping in student lockers, and why would he be hoarding them all to himself in the first place? A teacher? Ha, who are you kidding? No, he's a student, but even the teachers are cautious of him. His family basically own the town, but they are gone a lot of the time, so Vincent lives on a huge estate with his little gang. They are into all kinds of illegal stuff from what I hear. Joel continues, as my eyes widen more with each word. Why on earth would the school have to give me of all people an 800 locker number when this is the type of dudes apparently ruling over them? Does the Lord hate me that much? Sometimes, whenever students get one of those lockers, if you ask him nice enough, then he just lets you have it. It's like being granted fucking citizenship into the promised land around here. Joel rolls his eyes, clearly not fond of whoever Vincent was and what he stood for. We turn a corner at the end of the main hallway, finding the gym halls up ahead as one of them buzzed with activity whilst the other remained empty beside it. Just around here, if he's there then you can just ask him for it, and if he says no then we can try to change your locker number, right? Joel encourages, as I all but nod, feeling as though I didn't have much of a choice on the matter. Approaching the large metal cabinets, it seems at first that the whole wall of lockers were deserted, but as we grew closer, a group of 4 guys come into view. All stood in the corner by the fire exit door, which was slightly ajar. The scent of smoke quickly invaded my nostrils, causing my face to scrunch, reminding me of my father, as I push aside any dark thoughts straight to the back of my mind. Joel falls back slightly, giving my back a soft push to signal that it was them. The one with the tats. He whispers, as I gulp and locate the exact guy he was talking about amongst the crowd. There was no way he was my age. He was huge, both in height and in muscle. Tattoos covering mostly every bit of skin that I could see except from his literal face itself. All of them were big, but he seemed the damn biggest. I wasn't sure if it was simply due to the way Joel had played him up to me before now, but I found him terrifying nonetheless. Dark hair, dark dangerous eyes, and an expression that evidently didn't want to be tested today. However, I couldn't help but admire his perfect features, clearly gifted with good genes. But all of that aside, I have no choice. If this is how things run around here, then so be it. I shuffle my way towards them, as they all watch me silently in amusement. What do we have here? The blonde is the first to remark, his tone iced with sheer entertainment as he stubs out his cigarette. Another one of your quick fucks before class, Vin? The one with the shaved head sniggers sarcastically, as though it was a ridiculous suggestion that he would ever even look twice at me, let alone to sleep with me. Vincent? I begin, clearing my throat a little to get the words out. Louder? I'm not deaf, but you're beginning to make me fucking think that I am. He snaps out rudely, instantly proving himself to be the most confident of the group around him, his deep voice sending jolts of concern through me almost instantly. I really don't want to upset him. Sorry. I just wanted to, ask if I could use my locker. It's number 804. I was told to ask you first though. I try to push my voice to come out louder than before, doing a little better, but feeling my cheeks flare red with embarrassment as they all watch and scrutinize me with their eyes. With that, the group of guys all start laughing loudly, ridiculing me as Vincent himself smirks, probably feeling accomplished that I already respected him enough to ask him to use my own damn locker which was assigned to me in the first place. I don't know, can you? His response nearly kills me, as I shuffle from foot to foot feeling sick to my stomach at the whole exchange. Why couldn't anything in my life just be easy? For once. What's in it for me? The guy known as Vincent adds, as the others shake their head and snigger beside him like cronies found in a gangster movie. What the hell is this place? Well, what do you want for it? I find myself bargaining out of embarrassment, as my gut screams for me to just walk away. However, my head tells me that if I did, I would only make matters worse. Vincent seems amused with my response, bringing a hand up to his chin as though he was thinking heavily about what he wanted from me. What could the rich kid who apparently runs the whole town with everyone under his thumb ask for from me? I have nothing. Lunch, he states, as I squint slightly in confusion with the word. What? I breathe out, needing more than just a single word response from him. I want you to get me lunch and bring it here every day. He shrugs, smirking as though it was the best idea he had ever had. Is he fucking kidding me right now? Without realizing it, he's taking away the one thing I needed from this school to help keep me going. What do I do? Do I politely decline and tell him to keep the locker? It's not worth my only meal, is it? What? Mommy doesn't give you enough pocket money for a $3 lunch? Vincent remarks loudly with an eye roll, hitting me in the gut with his choice of words. No, mommy doesn't, because mommy isn't alive anymore. I'm on my own, you ass. Embarrassed and hurt, I allow pride to swallow any reasonable thought I have left. I'll bring you lunch, what do you get? I agree, stupidly, having been shamed into the agreement by the arrogant guy before me. My tone quiet and strained surprise me. He laughs, waving me off in a silent plea for me to leave, as I nod once and turn on my heels. Perhaps he will get tired of the lunch thing in a few days? It won't last forever. Maybe with my credit, I can grab an extra thing every day and eat that before I get here with his? I'll make it work. How did it go? I find Joel asking, as I sigh and slump my shoulders a little. He said I can have it. I admit my victory, however don't sound 1 ounce excited about it. Really? Well, that's major? The last kid that got an 800 locker got told to fuck off when they asked to use it. Joel grins and shakes his head at the memory, hands on his hips as he himself looks relieved about it. He motions for me to follow him, as we round the corner away from the group, thankfully finding my number closer to the end of the row to put some more distance between myself and Vincent. What's the catch? Joel hums, watching me unlock it before piling my backpack inside, happy to relieve myself of its weight. I've to buy him lunch and bring it here. I mumble, ashamed that I had even agreed to such a silly thing in the first place. I need a job, and fast, especially with this being my new school life already. Oh wow, well that sucks. Joel agrees with my mood as I nod and sigh. He's right about that. We proceed with the rest of Joel's tour, as he takes me around the entirety of the school and the grounds outside, showing me how to get to my art class that I have at the end of the day. So that's pretty much everything. I'll meet you every morning for the rest of the week to make sure you remember where to go, and then next week you'll be on your own. I would invite you for lunch with us, but my girlfriend might not like that, you know? Joel explains and rubs the back of his neck awkwardly. I kind of wish I could be introduced to some people, just to talk with them and help pass the days a little quicker, but his girlfriend must be one of those types. I see, is all I respond, hearing the bell for break sound out as he pushes out a tight smile. Yeah, she didn't like that I was even showing you around for extra credit either, but what can I do? I'll see you tomorrow morning though, okay? He chuckles, and before I can even respond he walks off and leaves me standing in the center of the filling hallways. I am officially on my own, roped into providing lunch for the school's biggest and baddest student, all for a damn locker that I could have done without. I'm done for, and it's not even the end of the day. Sophia's POV physical ed wasn't too bad, at least not today, since the coach said that I could observe the lesson with it being my first day and not being prepared for my timetable with a change of clothes. Little does he know that I probably won't ever have a change of clothes with me for the foreseeable. His kindness won't last very long when he realizes that it isn't just a case of me not being prepared. I genuinely didn't have any clothes fit for taking part, but that was a problem for another day. The girls in the class seemed rather brutal to say the least, as they whispered and stared over at me the entire lesson, often giggling and pointing occasionally without shame. The G. Bruce in my class were also immature as they pushed and shoved one another half of the time, before wolf whistling at the girls when they ran around in their tiny short and crop top sets. I hate the school environment, but I refuse to miss out on an education. How else will I get a decent job and a better life for myself? I never used to hate it though, when I was once one of the normal kids with friends and nice things, but I couldn't hold on to the memories of my past, for it would only kill my soul even more. It was now lunch, as I stood alone in the line with my tray, eyeing up the options to decide what Vincent would like since I had been roped into becoming his personal food supplier. I place a cold tuna roll on the tray for myself, along with grabbing 2 chocolate bars, one for Vincent and another for me. The bottled water was free, and so I took one for myself, knowing that I could fill it up throughout the day too, but decided on a can of cola for Vincent in case the water would disappoint or bore him. Maybe he would like fries for lunch? I didn't want to get any toppings either in case he didn't like something that I chose. I was almost angry at myself for caring so much, but I figured that if I managed to do a good job today, that he might let me off the hook sooner rather than later with our deal. Is that everything for you, dear? The fries will only be a moment. The fruit is free so you can help yourself to that too. The dinner lady motions towards the array of fruits as I nod and smile. That was another piece of good news, I guess. Handing her my card to pay, I wait for her to swipe it, seeing the light flash green before she hands me it back, and I move towards the fruit. Grabbing an apple and grapes for myself along with an apple and orange for Vincent, I ponder over the best way to do this. How can I get this to Vincent before the fries grow cold, giving myself enough time to eat too? Excuse me. I move back to tea. He lady, as she smiles warmly again, which welcomes me to trust her. Could I leave this stuff here for 5 minutes? I paid for my friend's lunch and have to take it to them and then I'll be back? I chew my lip in fear of her saying no, before she eases the tension with a nod. Of course, hand it over. She motions, as I pass her the items that I wanted to keep for myself, thanking her gratefully for doing me the favor. This setup wasn't too bad, if I could just do this every day to make sure that I was still eating something. If my free lunch credits last so long that as I walk back through the corridors, making my way towards the gym halls, hopeful that I had remembered the correct way back as I rounded the last corner and successfully found the doors before me. I turned to face the lockers, pausing for a moment when hearing an eruption of laughter, before I decide to get this over and done with as quickly as possible. There she is. My own private lunch lady. Vincent grins wickedly, as I eyed the pair, relieved to see him standing with only the blonde this time, easing my anxiety with less males than before. His teeth sat in perfect white rows, as he leaned against the wall with folded arms in a relaxed manner, face full of amusement. What did you get for me then, eh? He motions with his 2 fingers for me to approach, as I gulp and take slow steps towards him to reveal the contents on the tray. He inspects it thoroughly, glancing to his friend who had began circling around me slowly like a wild animal stalking its prey, making the sweat build on my forehead from the gesture alone. It's pretty fucking basic, but I'll let you off the hook on your first day. I expect you to do a better job tomorrow though, is that clear, Cinderella? He takes the tray from my hands, and turns to sit on the nearby ledge to eat it. Okay. I whisper, intertwining my fingers together to calm my racing heart as I submit to his wishes fully. You can Lou. Ave now. He gives me an obvious look as though I was meant to know that, as I nod once and turn on my heels. But with my first step, I find myself tripping and falling forward with a loud shriek, before the pair erupt with laughter from behind me as I smash against the tiled floor below, my knees taking the brunt of the fall. You're fucking sick for that. Vincent scolds his friend who had tripped me up without shame as I scramble to stand back up from the floor with tears now brimming at the edges of my eyes. Take a joke, Cinderella. The blonde retorts, as I clench my teeth to prevent myself from crying in front of him. With that, I hurry away, leaving the pair's draining laughter to drown out from behind me as I hurry back to the lunch hall to leave myself with enough time to at least eat something today. This whole first day seemed to be going in the direction that I so hoped it wouldn't. I reach up to quickly wipe a stray tear from my cheek as it falls, closing my eyes over to regain my composure with a slow inhale of air. I can do this. I've coped with way worse, it's going to be okay. I reassure myself in my own thoughts, before straightening up and heading back into the lunch hall, approaching the same lady from before. There you are, you still have 10 minutes to eat it. She checks the clock, as I sigh in relief and thank her, looking forward to the basic lunch more than probably anybody else in this place. It was strange having to start over 3 times in the space of a year, and I hoped that I could at least eventually settle somewhere. I never felt safe, no matter how much distance I seemed to put between myself and home, for they would always search for me to drag me back with them. I took a bite of my roll, enjoying each and every burst of bland flavor that came with it, as I scoped out the surrounding tables to try and find a fellow loner, preferably a girl, to which I could hopefully befriend. There didn't seem to be any, unless they went somewhere else for lunch. It seemed I wouldn't be making a friend anytime soon, but maybe it was for the best, since I don't know how long I'll even last this time around.